Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studios. So cool to be able to have access to Jeff. We used to work together when I was president of NOLA Media Group and publisher of the Times-Picayune and NOLA.com, and we had a terrific connection there. And when I started this show, reaching back out to him, say, hey, man, you want to come join me from time to time? And it actually turned into every single Friday. I think he may have missed 2 or 3 the whole time over the past 5 years. And it's just great to have someone. He's on the NFL Hall of Fame selection committee. He's won just about every award you can win as a columnist and journalist. He was on the Pulitzer team at the Times-Picayune after Hurricane Katrina, so he's got a lot of experience, and we're lucky to have him. And he likes coastal Mississippi, and he understands that the Saints are not just New Orleans team; it's the team for the Gulf South, and we're an extension of that for sure. In fact, we're the heart of that, if you ask me. And, so he wants to talk to our listeners. He wants to talk to you. And I hope you enjoy having him. Okay, we're going to shift gears now. I'm so sad to say that Ben Milam, who's joined me on this show, has left. He got a fantastic job for a national TV network where he's going to be doing some anchoring. I'm not surprised because he was sharp. And I always think what Zig Ziglar said is so important, that if you help people get what you want out of life, if you help them get what they want out of life, you'll get what you want out of life. And I think JT Mitchell did a terrific job of helping to develop Ben. And, when you get someone who's got tremendous potential, sometimes you just got to let them go let them fly. It's kind of like sending your kids off to college and hoping for their best. And Ben Milam is going to be awesome. So he left a terrific impression on all of us. And, so be it. When you've got good people, they're going to realize their potential and be the best version of themselves they can be. And we look forward to watching Ben in his career as he goes forward. But in his place, we have someone very special. Jill Sanchez is the new multimedia journalist for SuperTalk Mississippi News. And we're going to chat with her, get to know her. And we're also going to talk about some of the things in the headlines. So without any further ado, let me welcome Jill, not only to this show, but also to SuperTalk Mississippi Media. Jill, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Well, how is it going so far?
Well, okay, I've been here for about a month in, and let me tell you, there's so many things that I thought. I've studied journalism since the beginning of college, and I thought the minute I got out there, I would know exactly what I was doing. And it was such a shock when I graduated that it was like, oh, okay, what am I going to do now? Did you know that post-grad? Like there's a lot of spiraling. I didn't know that. But yeah, I got here and, JT and Caleb, the 2 people that I work with mainly, have been nothing but like absolutely great guys. They never fail to help me learn something new, definitely. And they don't make me feel dumb at all while doing it. They understand that I'm new, and it's honestly just been really great.
Well, you're bright and you're talented, and they obviously see that. You wouldn't be working on that team. The work that you're doing, as I remind people every week, is really important, because what you're doing through this network of over 50 radio stations is you're essentially informing. The SuperTalk Mississippi team is informing Mississippi through these over 50 radio stations, 25 of which are owned by SuperTalk Mississippi Media and 12 of which are part of the SuperTalk Mississippi network. But the work that you're doing is important. So you're taking all these tips and information that we're getting from all corners of this state, and you're distilling it and triaging that news, and then, bringing it back to the community, the important news they need to get. So I often tell people, in fact, I tell them every single Friday, that if you haven't been to supertalk.fm, I really encourage you to go look. And I would really encourage you to download the SuperTalk Mississippi app. It's free. There's not, I always say it's no rope-a-dope coming, where once you get hooked, we'll, send you a bill. That's not the way it works. It's free. And you're not going to find news from Indiana, I like to say, because, a lot of local news operations today, in spite of what they tell you, there's a centralized somewhere, not in Mississippi, that's deciding headlines and what you get in your feed. And you're getting stuff in your feed from all over the place. And I jokingly say, you hear more from Indiana than you do from Mississippi. You're not going to get news from Indiana from SuperTalk Mississippi News. You're going to get news from Mississippi. And as JT always adds, you'll get news from Indiana if it's got a Mississippi component to it. So this team is working hard to figure that out so that you can see what's happening. And it's a full-time job, because there's a lot of news in Mississippi that needs to be that needs to be gathered. And this team is doing a great job of that. So you're part of the team now. That's awesome. And I'm excited about that. You grew up in the Philippines, though, Jill. Tell us about that.
Yes. So I got here in like 2015, and my perception of America was I grew up watching Friends and iCarly, and they were all based in like New York and Seattle, and so that was my perception of America. So the culture shock I got when I got here, and I was like, oh, we're in the South. And I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, this is not the same. But, I really, really grew to love it. I know Mississippi is known for a lot of its crime and its history, but there's just so much more to Mississippi than what meets the eye, definitely. Like that's why
Yeah.
a lot of people my age who do journalism, they move and they find places where there's bigger news headlines. But for me, I just feel like Mississippi is such a hidden gem, and so people just need to report on that more. And that's why I'm here.
Well, I love that being the reason you're here. Often say on this show that, when a tornado goes through or a flooding disaster or certainly a hurricane like Katrina, it brings people together and titles go away. There are no Republicans and Democrats, black and white. There's only neighbors helping each other. And when people from the outside come into this, I think that's an important observation after a disaster, because after that, you really, all the things that clutter our world are gone temporarily, and you're able to really see what's in the heart and soul of who we are. And people who come here with those preconceived notions that you allude to, they immediately realize, holy mackerel, what I thought I was going to see and what I'm actually seeing are two completely different things. In a lot of ways, we do have that checkered past, but in some ways, we actually came to grips with the aspects of that. And listen, every community, every state, every nation is going to have its bruises and its challenges. That is for sure. But I think at the end of the day, what you see in the heart and soul of Mississippians is something that we know because we live here. But for people who come in from the outside, when they leave here, Jill, they often say, I got more from being there than I expected to give. That's a really beautiful thing to say about our people, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I just genuinely, within every person that I've met in Mississippi, I don't want to say that everyone's the same, but no one is the same. And I know that's how it's intended to be, and that's how God created us. But it's just everyone has their own stories, and getting to see everyone talk about it openly in the way they do and the way they present themselves, it's so enriching. And the fact that I get to sit here at my job in my desk and report about these beautiful things happening in Mississippi is just, wow. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's very special. Listen, for a matter of fact, speaking of that preconceived notion, let's talk about the death of Trey Reed at Delta State. That all that does when you hear that, and another one as well. But when you hear that, you think, that's just Mississippi. I hate that. We don't deserve it. But what's your tell us more about what we're talking about.
Yeah, so Trey Reed was a student in Delta State University, and he was 21 years old, but he was found hung on campus, and that is just a tragedy. It's horrible, and there's so much more that goes into the story, and it's so strange because this is now turning out to be like a national story. People are coming in through social media and saying, this is what happened. This is what happened. And, I hate when all the lines are mixed up and now people are assuming things and not listening. And it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stories going on, and it's still progressing as we go. So it's very deep. Yeah.
So tell us so far what we do know in terms of what is suspected to be the case.
Yeah, absolutely. So he apparently, from what I've heard, I'm going to tell you this from top to bottom. He was found Monday morning, and he was already unconscious, and he was on campus. And immediately, the president contacted who was listed as next of kin. Now, this was the difficult part for families and the next of kin, but the next of kin was listed by the student. So if it wasn't a specific family member or anything like that, they weren't contacted. And that's really hard on both ends of the family. But beyond that, immediately Delta State said that explained that. Hold on, real quick. Explained that they immediately brought the body, obviously, to a full body autopsy and all of that, and there was no signs of like struggle or of like that person was injured or anything like that, besides the fact that they were hung. And that was it. And but this time, now the family's adding, because they did have a family attorney speak for them and they did say that not all of the family was contacted. And that's what was that's what was difficult, because the university president immediately just contacted who was next of kin. That is the person that they were immediately just supposed to speak to. And the university president made it clear that every university in the United States did that. So that's what happened. And
so now we'll finish this up and we'll pick it up on the other side, but we have multiple jurisdictions now that are involved in working with Delta State to figure this out. When we come back on the other side, we'll continue our conversation with Jill Sanchez. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. We're visiting with Jill Sanchez, who is a new multimedia journalist for SuperTalk Mississippi News. And listen, the Charlie Kirk murder has been something that I've talked about on the show with several people. I'm sure it's going to be an ongoing conversation. It's really kind of galvanized people who followed him and supported him and saw what he was trying to do, was whether you agreed with him or not. And I often say that I don't agree with everything that anyone says. You know, that's the reality. But one of the things that I enjoyed about following Charlie Kirk was that he was incredibly smart. I have a strong faith. And so he's extraordinarily faithful, almost prophet-like in the way he talked about his religion. And the one thing he said that I think is so important, because I'm a former newspaper publisher. I spent my entire career focused on the importance of the First Amendment and the role that free speech is. And I think in the wake of, we'll come back to this in a second, in the wake of Charlie's death, people think free speech is free speech, but that's not the way it works. And I'll remind you here in just a second about that. But what he did say as it relates to that is that even when we disagree, we should talk. And then we should have respectful talk, and we should care about one another and so on. So you've had a lot of flurry about that. But what also you had is, since he was also highly political, people who were on the other side of the political spectrum and sadly celebrated his death or made posts about his death and so on. And so there's been this is an ongoing story that will be around for a very, very long time, because it's bringing many things to the surface about what really is First Amendment protection, what really is free speech, and what roles do universities, businesses, and others have in monitoring the speech of its employees, especially on social media. But it's, you've been involved in one story as it relates to Mississippi College. There are many others, but kind of give a sense of that one.
Yeah, so 2 Mississippi College employees were suspended for posting about Charlie Kirk on social media. Now, we don't know if that second person posted, because as far as Mississippi College has told us, because as far as we knew, it was only one person. So what Mississippi College told us was actually 2 people were suspended, not just one.
What's interesting is what you're seeing, Jill, is you're seeing people say that these teachers and professors and employees of universities or wherever are just practicing free speech, and they should be able to do that. That if we stop that free speech, and that's not good. But people need to be reminded that free speech is about government censorship and government punishment. It doesn't mean that if you work for a university or you work in the private sector, that your speech outside of the office could definitely be something that the company could be concerned about. Because if what you're saying goes viral, obviously in most of these cases, that's been the case as it relates to Charlie Kirk, that if it reflects negatively on the university or reflects negatively on the company, that it's up to the company. Most companies do have policies about how you represent the company, whether you're at work or off of work. And, that's not First Amendment protection if you're employed and your employer has issues with the way you handled yourself out in the public, because you represent the public, especially if it becomes viral. I could give a whole seminar on it, because where I come from, I had First Amendment lawyers working out of my suite for many years, and dealing with every aspect of what practicing the First Amendment is all about. So I really understand it, and we are just confused in our society today about what is free speech. And I think one thing that will come from this is it's important for us to talk. It's important for people to recognize that they have a responsibility for their actions, and that your employer, whether you like it or not, has some say so about that, and people will always continue to lose their job. This is not a new deal. If people create negative energy focused on your organization or institution that you work for, that's just kind of the reality of that. So I'm not trying to engage you in that, Jill, but I just think what we're going to get in this moment is a very serious discussion in America about what constitutes free speech. I'm sure you see that as well, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's weird to think about it, just because, also what happened last night or yesterday, Jimmy Kimmel's show was suspended indefinitely because he made comments about the Charlie Kirk deal. And at that point, I think people are questioning whether they can make comments at all. And they have right to do so.
So, let's apply that frame that I just mentioned. So Kimmel's always been polarizing, but they also have advertisers, and they also have networks that have to play his show. And he doesn't have the ability to just have free speech. His network determines whether he's extending the brand of the network the way they want it to be. And obviously, in this case, when you have major components of their distribution network that say we're not going to run the show, CBS is forced to have to deal with that. And again, you can call it free speech all you want to, but he had a responsibility to advertisers, to the business health of the organization. His numbers were already not good. He had responsibilities to do what's best for CBS, and he didn't do that, and he will suffer the consequences. We'll see how that all plays out. But Jill, it's been a pleasure to spend some time with you. I look forward in the future to really kind of, nailing it all down. Today was really about just getting to know you better. So have a great day. Good to see you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, very, very good. This has been Jill Sanchez from SuperTalk Mississippi News. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.